An American billionaire just offered to fund a criminal prosecution in a foreign country, not through a government, not through a court order, through a social media post. And almost nobody in Washington is asking what that means. Because when the world's richest man, a man who controls critical American infrastructure, who advised the President of the United States, who ran the Department of Government Efficiency, decides to start buying legal outcomes in Britain, that's not charity. That's something far more dangerous. And it started with the death of an 18-year-old student named Henry Nowak. On the evening of December 3, 2025, Henry Nowak was walking home through Southampton after a night out with friends. He was 18 years old, a first-year accounting student at the University of Southampton. He had his whole life ahead of him. He never made it home. Vikram Digwa attacked him on Belmont Road and stabbed him 5 times. Henry collapsed on the pavement, bleeding out, and then the police arrived. What happened next was caught on body-worn camera footage that Britain watched in horror last week. Officers arrived at the scene. Henry Nowak was lying on the ground, fatally wounded. He told them he had been stabbed. He said he couldn't breathe, and the officers handcuffed him. They forced his arms behind his back as he lay dying. They didn't believe him. They continued restraining him as he pleaded that he was unable to breathe. Henry Nowak died in handcuffs. The man who stabbed him was standing nearby. He was not handcuffed. The court later determined that Digwa had lied to police, falsely claiming he was the victim of a racist attack. That false claim is what the officers initially responded to. On May 28, 2026, Vikram Digwa was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 21 years. His mother was convicted of assisting an offender. Justice was served for the murder itself. But Henry Nowak's father, Mark, said the way his son had been treated by police was, in his own words, inhumane and degrading. An investigation by the Independent Office for Police Conduct was launched. The British government acknowledged the failures. Prime Minister Keir Starmer called the case awful and shocking, and that should have been where the political story ended. A tragedy, a failed police response, an investigation underway, a family grieving. But then Elon Musk opened his phone. Musk posted on X that he was willing to fund a private prosecution against the police officers involved in Henry Nowak's death. Not a donation to the family, not a statement of sympathy, an offer to financially back a legal action against British law enforcement in a foreign country through a social media post. Think about what that actually means. Elon Musk is not a British citizen. He holds no public office in the United Kingdom. He has no legal standing in British courts, but he controls X, the platform where the outrage about this case exploded. He has 200 million followers. He can turn public anger into political fire with a single post. And now he's offering money to direct that fire at specific targets inside the British justice system. For many people watching, that might sound like justice. A powerful man standing up for a victim whose death deserved better. But look at the pattern. Because this is not the first time Musk has used his wealth and platform to interfere in British politics. In January 2025, Musk posted "Free Tommy Robinson" to his 210 million followers. Tommy Robinson is a far-right British activist with multiple criminal convictions who is serving a sentence for contempt of court. Musk didn't just express sympathy. He amplified Robinson's platform globally. He promoted Robinson's documentary. He called for his release from prison. Then Musk began attacking Keir Starmer's government directly. He called for new elections in Britain. He described Starmer as an enabler of rape gangs. He accused the Labour government of covering up mass grooming crimes. Some of those claims were disputed or misleading, but they spread to hundreds of millions of people instantly because Musk owns the platform they spread on. And in the German federal elections of early 2025, Musk went even further. He hosted an X Spaces event with AfD leader Alice Weidel, Germany's far-right party. He told German voters in a foreign election that the AfD was the only option to save Germany. German politicians across the political spectrum condemned it as direct foreign interference in a democratic election. The AfD significantly overperformed their polling. Now look at what connects all of these moments. Tommy Robinson, Nigel Farage, the AfD, and now Henry Nowak. Every single case involves Elon Musk inserting American financial and platform power into European politics, specifically to amplify narratives that portray ethnic minorities as receiving preferential treatment and white people as victims of a biased system. Nigel Farage, who met Musk at Mar-a-Lago in December 2024, said this week that Henry Nowak's death was an example of two-tier policing. He said, and these are his words, "White lives matter just as much as black lives." Tommy Robinson told the protest crowd in Southampton that if Henry wasn't white, he wouldn't have been handcuffed. And Elon Musk from America offered to fund the prosecution. Now here is the question that Washington is completely ignoring. At what point does an American billionaire's repeated financial and platform interference in foreign democracies become a national security question? Because Musk isn't just a private citizen anymore. He ran the Department of Government Efficiency. He has access to vast amounts of American government data and systems. He advises the President of the United States. His companies hold critical contracts with the American military and NASA. He owns the most influential social media platform on Earth, and he is actively funding political and legal actions in foreign countries to push a specific ideological agenda. The Henry Nowak case is a genuine tragedy. The failure of those police officers to help a dying teenager is real and serious and deserves accountability. The family deserves justice. Henry's father himself said he holds only Digwa responsible for the murder and asked that his son's death not be used to create further division, hatred, or tension. But Elon Musk didn't listen to Henry's father. He turned the case into a culture war weapon within hours of the verdict. And here's what that looks like from the inside. Hundreds of protesters marched through Southampton. Police were pelted with rocks, chairs, bricks, and flares. 11 officers were injured. Residential neighborhoods were terrified. People wearing masks chanted and attacked police lines. Britain's Home Secretary said activists were hijacking a tragedy to stir up violence. And all of it was amplified by the world's richest man, sitting in America, posting to 200 million followers, offering to write a check. This is the new model of political interference. It doesn't require troops or sanctions or diplomatic pressure. It requires a platform, a following, and a billionaire willing to use both as weapons. And the most alarming part isn't what Musk is doing in Britain. It's that nobody in the American government is asking him to stop. Because when a man with Musk's access to American power structures starts funding prosecutions in foreign democracies, the question isn't just about British justice. The question is about what happens when that same logic gets applied here at home. If Elon Musk can offer to fund a private prosecution against British police officers he disagrees with, what's stopping him from doing the same thing with American officials? What's stopping him from using his platform and his billions to target prosecutors, judges, or investigators who pursue cases he finds inconvenient? We already saw a version of that. When Musk ran Doge, investigators who looked into government spending were reassigned. Agencies that oversaw his company's government contracts were restructured. Watchdogs were neutered. The pattern is the same. Identify a target, amplify outrage, deploy resources, remove accountability. And the Henry Nowak case shows that this pattern now has no borders. It operates in Britain. It operated in Germany. It will operate wherever there is enough outrage to exploit and enough money to direct it. Henry Nowak deserved better than to be used as a political weapon. His father said it clearly. His death should lead to safer streets, not further division. But that's not what happened. What happened was that within hours of the conviction, before the family had even processed their grief, the machinery of international far-right politics had already claimed his story. And an American billionaire had already offered his checkbook to make sure it stayed in the headlines. This isn't justice for Henry Nowak. This is interference dressed up as justice. And until somebody in Washington starts asking serious questions about what Elon Musk is doing in foreign democracies, it won't stop here. It never does. The question isn't whether Henry Nowak's death deserved accountability. It did. The question is who gets to decide what accountability looks like, and whether the world's richest man should be the one writing that check. If this story made you think about who really controls the conversation, subscribe and keep watching. Drop a comment. Do you think Musk funding a foreign prosecution crosses a line? Because the answer to that question matters more than most people realize.